Hello, welcome to Chris's Quick Tips for Google Sheets. This video demonstrates some functions which provide general information about date and time in a Google Sheet. It looks at functions which tell you the current date and time, check if a specific cell is formatted as date or time, and finally a function that will tell you the last date in a month. There are a couple of functions which allow you to store the current date and time in a cell. The first is the today function, which stores the current date number in a cell, and if the display format for the cell is automatic, the display format of the cell is set to the default date format. A quick note about the default date format. If, like me, you live in the UK, remember to set the locale to the United Kingdom to ensure that the sheet uses the date, month, year order for the date. As per the note at the top of the sheet, I've not been able to find a way of setting the default locale to the United Kingdom for all new sheets. The default for new sheets always seems to be the United States, and the month, date, year order for the date. If you live in the UK or another country that does not use the United States date order, then you will also need to remember to change the locale for each new sheet. All of these cells contain the today function. However, I have changed the date format for each cell to either one of the built-in date formats or a custom date format. In column H, I have changed the format to number so that you can see the date number that is returned by the today function. The today function only returns the date and not the time of day, so the date number is a whole number with a decimal element that is all zeros. If you set the format to a time format, then because the today function returns a whole number, the time will be midnight. If you want the current time as well as the date, the now function will return a number that consists of a whole number representing the date and a decimal element representing the time of day. The automatic display format includes both the date and the time of the day. You can, of course, use a display format that does not include the time, in which case the time of day is ignored and only the date will be displayed. In this scenario, the today and now functions appear to return the same information. However, be aware that the decimal element returned by the now function has not been deleted, it's just not displayed. In some of your sheets, this may potentially cause a problem, depending on how you are manipulating dates. If you only want the date, you could of course use the int function to remove the decimal element of the number returned by the now function. The interesting thing to note here is that the auto display format is not the date format. The default number format is used because the int function is the outer function and returns a number, not a date. This means that you will need to set the cell display format manually. I therefore recommend using the today function rather than now if you only need the date. When using today or now, you may want to change the default setting for how often the current time and date are recalculated. Click File, then Spreadsheet Settings, then click on the Calculation tab. The recalculation settings control how often the sheet is recalculated. Every time the sheet is recalculated, the now function will return a new value because the time will have changed. You are given three options. The default option is on change, which means that every time you make an edit to the sheet will be recalculated, so there will be a new time returned by the now function. You also have the option to recalculate the sheet every minute or hour, in addition to the updates when the sheet is edited. The ISDATE function is useful if you want to check if a cell is formatted with a date or time format. The function returns true if the cell has got a date or time format, and false if the cell is not formatted as a date or time. If a cell has automatic formatting, the ISDATE function will return true if the automatically selected format is date or time. The int now function in D7 returns a number, and the automatic formatting sets the format of the cell to a number, So in this case, the ISDATE function returns false because the automatically selected format is not a date or time format. The EOMONTH or end of month function returns the last date in the specified month, taking into account leap years. The first argument for this function is a date number. The second argument is the number of months before or after the date number in the first argument. If the second argument is 0, then the EOMONTH function returns the last date in the month specified by the date number entered in the first argument. So in this case, the date number is the 14th of August 2020. So with a second argument of 0, the last date of August 2020 is the 31st of August 2020. The last date in the months after the specified date are returned by the EOMONTH function if the second argument for the EOMONTH function is a positive number. The last date in the months before the specified date number are returned by the ISDATE function if the second argument for the EOMONTH function is a negative number. 6 months before and after August is February. The table shows that the EOMONTH function correctly returns either 28th or 29th of February, depending on whether or not it is a leap year. Click to watch the playlist containing all the other videos about time and date functions in Google Sheet. There is also a playlist with a lot of videos covering other Google Sheet functions and functionality.